or not to play. It's not just about the risk of COVID-19 transmission. As debate rages on about safety and sports during the pandemic, particularly college football, cardiologists have a warning about post-COVID heart damage that could be a game changer. A silent stadium, now a symbol of the sports world.
I couldn't imagine being a college football athlete and being told you don't have the season.
Dr. John Irwin knows football. The North Shore University Health System cardiologist played in college.
I am quick to tell people that any inkling of success that I've had in my life comes more from the lessons that I learned on the field and in the weight room than what I really learned in a classroom, just from the standpoint of endurance, the standpoint of camaraderie, the standpoint of it takes a whole team to make success.
But right now, many teams have been sidelined by the threat of COVID-19 and concerns about a potentially serious complication of the virus, myocarditis, or inflammation of the heart.
The COVID side of things is that there have been some people with relatively mild COVID symptoms that have gone on to develop inflammation of the heart. And typically, though, there is some chest discomfort, some palpitations, some lightheadedness, possibly even passing out, increasing shortness of breath when they exert themselves. And obviously that's a fairly common symptom that people are having recovering from COVID right now, is that shortness of breath.
Myocarditis is not specific to SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. Other viruses can enter the heart and cause the same problems. Some patients may not have symptoms, but Northwestern Medicine cardiologist Dr. Sadia Khan says that's not always the case.
But others may, and they may develop heart failure. Their heart muscle may weaken or stay weak for a long time to come. One of our biggest concerns is that we know that inflammation or myocarditis can put people at risk for having heart rhythm problems and even potentially collapsing or dying. And so that's, of course, the gravest concern. How common is that? How likely is that? We don't have those answers yet, but is any risk of that enough to be able to tolerate saying that we're going to let our children and our young adults play?
While the rate of myocarditis in older COVID-19 patients is estimated to be 20% or greater, doctors don't yet know how prevalent the condition is among younger patients who've had the virus.
It's hard to know so far because those tests aren't routinely being done in young patients who are not in the hospital and who are not necessarily even being tested. So we don't have great information in young adults other than the cases that we've heard from some of the athletes that have come forward that have myocarditis or that inflammation.
What we do know is that we have a very low fatality rate in student athlete aged population at this point.
And what about the weekend warriors? Are those who exercise at risk? If you have any symptoms of myocarditis like shortness of breath, chest discomfort, or palpitations and lightheadedness.
I think the biggest thing that I tell our audience is to make sure and get that checked out. Just don't say, oh, I'm still trying to recover, I'm just weak from it. Go get it checked out.
When it comes to college sports, Dr. Irwin believes there's a middle ground. He's advocating for a return to the field with specific protocols in place, including diligent monitoring of student athletes who've tested positive for the virus. But he says schools must have the proper medical resources available. That's